while they're both doing really well in their careers, like most of the classmates are, and finding what they stand for and navigating the scenario, I think what excites me to hear is how they play a dual role in taking on initiatives that they so strongly feel for. The ability to be at a stage when you say my career is very important and I want to make the most and really immerse myself into work, but also realizing where you need to draw the line and take an initiative to do something that you see is vastly going wrong. So I guess the two people today, Piyushaa, Newatia, and Elena McFarlane, could I please invite the two of you on top? So Piyushaa, I just wanted everyone to know a little bit about your professional journey so far and what's that been like for you?
Yeah, of course. So I'm a consultant at Bain. I'm a generalist. I look at all sorts of problems for large companies and somehow act as an expert advisor, which the imposter syndrome that we just spoke about often feels like we're not really qualified. But I think bringing that outside-in perspective is actually very valuable for a lot of companies. I kind of got there after being at London Business School with Pearl. And reaching a point after school thinking, well, yes, I've had great education, but I don't really know much about lots of different industries and I don't know where my best fit is yet. So I thought consulting would be a really good way to figure that out. So that has been my avatar for the last sort of 3.5 years.
Lovely. Elena, a little bit about both your roles and especially the whole new initiative within the CSR division.
Yes, so I work for Amazon, joined a few years ago within the marketplace department. So we essentially enable companies to sell products on Amazon. A couple of, a year and a half ago, I joined the very first team that was put together to essentially bring sustainable innovation within our sort of product selection. And so at the moment, supporting sustainable startups launching their innovative products on Amazon. That said, tried finally this year to combine sort of my passion towards having an impact and social impact with obviously the huge success and scale that Amazon offers. So working on a program called Amazon for Charity, where we again enable charities to fundraise on Amazon, driving traffic on their products essentially, been working on this for the last 8 months with very exciting initiatives and campaigns and charities we're supporting.
Lovely. So just leaving it out to both of you, what was that turning point? Was it an inspiration? Was it a single incident? Was it a culmination of events? What got you into participating with, the Women's India Association and also independently taking on initiatives? And similarly, Elena, while Ukraine was a significant event, I really would love to know a bit more about how you actually went ahead and put it together. And hope that people here, hear about how you pushed yourself in and got this going very successfully.
Yeah, great. Should I kick off? So I've always been very, very interested in kind of social impact work or philanthropy. And I think from a very young age, I always was keenly aware that all of my privilege was really just a matter of where I was born, who I was born to. And I was really lucky to have a fantastic education. So I thought I have to kind of put this to some use. That's where the drive and kind of passion for social impact work kicks in. And then I think volunteering and experiencing firsthand how many kind of issues there are in the world that we can be involved with. I wanted to be able to bring that into my daily life. So I think I've been involved with the Women's India Association for almost 10 years. And for the last 3 years have been acting as their young chairperson. Just a quick sentence about WIA. It is the longest running Indian charity in the UK, founded in 1960. We fundraise for a number of organizations in India and the UK, predominantly working on women's health and education, and then also children's health and education. And as part of the kind of younger generation, we're really trying to build together that community of the next set of women who are going to be fundraising, who are going to be advising charities, bringing together women, educating them, and also providing a link to India, just that sense of community. Outside of WIA, I also do a lot of social impact consulting work. And most recently, I'm working with an organization called Project Della around sort of women's sanitation, how to have healthy periods, how to kind of bring like proper sanitation across India, and enabling women to become entrepreneurs through sanitary napkins, sanitary wear.
Good. So in my case, I would start in the same way, very early age. It was sort of being inspired by a movie in reality that tells the story of a real person, Francis of Assisi. Maybe some of you have heard of him. But it's essentially a big figure who essentially, was born from a very privileged family and decided to give up all of his privilege to really live a life of service and helping the poor. And that combined, I think, with what could be seen a little bit of a family trait, but sort of passion for bringing people together, led me, from, at a very small scale, to organize various, fundraising events, selling products, etc. when I was much younger. I think that the sort of turning point Pearl talked about was really for me with the war in Ukraine as a sort of turning point as a professional, because obviously something that affected all of us, shocked all of us in many ways, but it kind of lit inside of me a little bit that a fire. Whether I want to call it passion or, as you mentioned earlier, the fact of sort of feeling a liveliness. I just literally was taking a plane to go back to Italy one evening, and I want to do something about it. I sort of trained as an opera singer all of my life, so thought, why not organizing a concert for charity? A bit daunting when you think about London as such a big city when your professional experience is not, related to that. And also where your network as well is not doesn't necessarily fit in. So simply started reaching out to friends, big support system, but most importantly as well found an amazing sort of friend that decided to who's here today.
Hello.
Who decided to join me on this journey. All in all, I think that the biggest learning was, just take that leap of faith, even if you don't have a business plan, even if you don't have a network and all of that. So we ended up organizing in a month and a half since basically the war in Ukraine started, a concert raising £10,000 at the cost of £80, which I like to mention. Sold over 200 tickets, all with this concept of, through friends, with friends, and for friends. So most of the attendees were actually, I would say a lot of them were friends. We didn't make it public, so to create as well that social experience and network. Incredible when you go out and ask people for help and support, how much you get. Like we got, flower arrangements from the florist that did flower arrangements for Kate Moss's wedding, or soaps from, luxurious, company, well, not soap companies, but anyways, Santa Maria Novella, in case you know about it. But anyways, very exciting, but at the heart of it, and I liked your speech, was really the fun element. We just had a lot of fun doing this, and we're looking forward to more opportunities and initiatives.
Lovely. I'm glad, Elena, this has not been a one-time initiative.
Yeah.
Sorry, I think someone was saying something.
No,
but
I just wanted to say well done, really. It's really moving, so well done. And you're the proof. When you do something that makes you feel alive, then you tend to succeed because you produce a positive energy. So I think it's a wonderful example. Thank you.
And I think what I'm just very happy to hear is that it's not a one-time initiative. I think a little bit of passion fueled with a little risk. Now you feel a little confident in your friends and the support system. And I think the beauty is, Elena, when we ask people to help for something that's a bigger purpose, that's above business, that's above immediate sales, it's very surprising the kind of support that you get. when you ask for help for someone else, the support, and that's, I think those moments of realization really kind of get you to a place where you feel confident in the relationships you've gone ahead and built over the years and the connect that you have. So I'm quite happy to hear that. Piyushaa, any instances where you felt a sense of support? But more than anything for me, what's quite exciting to hear is how you're championing it and working with the next generation that's going to look at the fundraising. How do you inspire other people to join the cause? Right? Because now it's no longer the way Elena did, with a friend going ahead, organizing things individually. For you, working with an organization also requires to have volunteers, also requires to have participants, also has the requirement for other ladies to take on leadership roles within the committees. So how do you go ahead and inspire other young people to stop what they're doing, give your organization some time and really get a part of it?
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, everyone leads such busy lives that it is quite difficult to kind of engage people, get them really excited about a topic. But the Young Women's India organization has 10 young women who are on the committee, who kind of help set up events. And I think they really came together because friends help out friends. So when I took on the role, I had been introduced to it by a really good family friend. And then just kind of speaking to people and exhibiting the work that we've done in the past, engaging people even on social media, that has become increasingly more important for us. Just got new people involved. And then I think having a mixture of events where people can come and experience the community, like really understand what it means to be a part of WIA, is super important. It's very much why we're all here today, to kind of understand how DLC works. In the same way, I'm sure now 10, 15 people from this room will be permanently engaged. It's the same type of thing that we try and do with WIA. And I think, again, just like bringing to people why something is important to you, what you've been able to gain out of it, and just showcasing what they could gain out of it as well, gets people engaged.
Lovely. Before I leave the floor open for everybody else to jump in, I just wanted to understand, how has it been so far, taking on 2 roles? How do you manage to work towards it? And what's next for you, as far as your independent initiatives go on?
Yeah. Do you want to kick off?
Sure. In my case, I think I've never experienced the effect of adrenaline on actually working a lot. But the excitement of getting positive answers simply to emails and all of that really kept me going, I must admit. Definitely having a wonderful partner on this initiative as well. But I think when your heart is at it, and when you're driven by doing something good, and the intention is good, which sometimes could not be necessarily. I've had moments in which I thought of a new event and I was like, no, this is not the right intention, so I'm not going ahead with it. Really drives you. And then on the sort of next steps, so Francesca and I are actually thinking about sort of repeating this concept of sort of Friends for, the concert was called Friends for Ukraine, a charity concert, into a potentially a new event for next year. We are thinking about, to be honest, supporting the cost of living crisis, to identify charities, etc. But how I'm seeing it is, for the moment, I'm kind of building a portfolio of experiences. Where that is going to lead, we'll see. In the meantime, I'll keep using Amazon's scale to also try and do some good.
Which is incredible, right? Like you're leveraging everything that you have. So being part of Amazon, you as a part of the team, I'm sure you have certain benchmarks that you need to meet and perform. But to be able to keep that purpose beyond profit aside and kind of focus on actually helping sustainably producing companies to really get onto the platform and assisting them through it, is you using the leverage that you have in the best possible way. So I think that itself is good. But I'm glad you didn't jump into something that you weren't very sure about, but that's lovely. Piyushaa.
Yeah, I mean, I think it is, like, in a very practical sense, something you have to think about. Managing social impact work alongside a day job, and a Bain Consulting day job can be quite a strenuous thing. But if you're really motivated about a project or a particular charity you're working with, I think it is very feasible. I must admit, I spend a lot of my weekend time doing this kind of work. And that is really feasible because I'm very motivated by what I'm doing. I think the kind of core next steps for WIA, we really want to bring back in-person events. A lot of the last 2-3 years has been kind of adapting to COVID, moving everything online. So we want to bring back things in person, grow the base of young women and men in the UK who support WIA. And then on a more kind of personal level, I really want to continue doing the kind of work I do with Project Bala in allowing social enterprises to have a sandbox where they can go and just create new ideas, test things out, rather than be reliant on gaining sponsorship for pre-existing actions that they take. So that's something core I want to do. And then I think very long term, Elena and I were even discussing it today, but eventually I think because we're both so interested in social impact, we'll want to have a kind of foundation where we have the ownership and flexibility to be able to just focus on projects that we want.
Fair enough. Lovely. That's quite nice to hear. But I'm glad that that's a very, very noble thought. And I understand that, to have the flexibility to do that and take decisions is something that would kind of give you a little more satisfaction on identifying. And now, like Elena said, gaining all that experience that you can, seeing the organizations, and I guess the business models each company or not-for-profit follows, and deploying it is the right thing. Any questions from the audience?
Yeah.
Hi. Just a really quick question. So, did you kind of outsource completely that search for purpose in your side jobs, let's say it, or what steps do you take on your actual jobs, day jobs, to find a purpose? And I can imagine that it's sometimes it's very direct when you're working within the sustainable innovation department, but Piyushaa, I'm guessing in consulting sometimes you don't always choose or you don't always have the benefit of being involved in that kind of project. So how do you not only outsource that purpose for this,
but bring it day to day?
Exactly.
Yeah, I think, and that's a great question. And luckily at Bain, I was actually able to join their social impact ring fence. So I worked for 6 months specifically on kind of pro bono projects. So that brought it very, very much day to day. But now I'll often do pro bono consulting on the side. So maybe I'll spend a couple of hours doing that every day. I think within general projects that you're doing, I think the same values that you bring to social impact, you can bring to your day-to-day life. And that is kind of being involved with the people on your team, just gaining energy out of being on a case team as well, and seeing how you can help other people. It might be even through mentorship. So I really enjoy working with new joiners and kind of skill sharing and things. And that gives me a lot of joy, I think.
And I guess to add, I think in my case, for instance, when the war with Ukraine started, yes, I work on sustainable innovation, but at the same time, I thought, how can I use the department I'm working with to support Ukraine? So didn't end up, doing that much for it, but in terms of at the beginning, thinking about how can we support Ukrainian companies that sell on Amazon, how can we support with sort of product donations, which ended up being a big sort of initiative that Amazon led. So I think, maybe, Amazon is in a particular position where they've got the scale and offices everywhere and all of that. But I think within every company, there's always something that you can think of through which you can use that specific company, those specific resources, etc., to just at the different situations for different communities, etc., drive something. It's just needs a little bit of thinking big, which is a very Amazonian way of saying it, but
yeah.
If you didn't have your day job, so to speak, how much of your philanthropic work would you be able to continue to do? I'll explain why I'm asking it, I guess, because as a business owner, I think I feel an immense sense of guilt listening to people like you guys, because when you run a business, you kind of feel like you have to put everything into that business, and sometimes other things, take
A bit of,
aside.
Yeah, of course.
So how do you balance it? Or would you be able to do it if you didn't have that regular income, I guess?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a great question. And I actually spent 5 months of last year unemployed, and ended up spending quite a fair amount of my time on this work. But I think we don't have to see social impact work as purely a time commitment or a philanthropic commitment. It can really be whatever you're able to give and do. And I think if there is like a particular topic that is super important to you, you are often able to find ways to bring it into your day-to-day life. So maybe for you, it might be that you're really interested in mentoring the next generation. I actually think of that as social impact work as well. And if you could bring that into your organization, that might be something you do on a day-to-day basis without it taking a toll, but still adding to your business. Yeah, I mean, I think it's definitely from a place of privilege that you're able to spend large chunks of time on work like this. But even spending 5% of your time or 2% of your time is still super valuable.
So I'd love to answer this one. With DLC as well, when we always talk about helping people. So we realize that, leaders are lonely at the top. You want to give them a support system and a community. That in itself is working towards helping people and connecting people. But while we kind of focus on that, we also said that, okay, but most of these people are going to use this support and leverage to just do better business and, get more clients and build their network. It's not really coming back. And which is when we focused on how do we use domain expertise into social impact initiatives. So, when you hear of an initiative, you hear of a charity, how do you get people that also believe in that cause affiliated? And this is where we're focusing and running out programs where you as a leader and a domain expert can actually contribute your intellect. So it's not just time, money, sponsorship, and volunteering work, but really come in for what you're good at. So if you're a consultant, there's a charity that's never going to be able to afford you. Someone that works with the big five is not something that they would know. They want to start a charity or an event in a new geography. The customs, rules, regulations, CSR fund laws are things that charities sometimes or not-for-profits don't have the luxury to explore, which is why they continue remaining in the domain and geography that they belong to. So when you have leaders and other individuals that completely work as support systems and guiding hands for them, you can actually achieve and focus on something. So, even with DLC, we always said that, our main purpose is to focus on social impact, to look at the United Nations 17 SDGs, see where each of our members finds a connect and resonates, take note of every little conversation that happens, and tomorrow when something comes up, actually connect them. So, we spoke to a member who shared his passion about the fact that teaching Hispanic immigrants, getting them employment, working on their resume, teaching them how to network and dress is what gave him more satisfaction, other than being the CEO of Reebok and Asics and every large footwear manufacturing company, that he went, from the one board to the other two. So really finding that and pulling it across. And Ellen, even for us, the other thing which comes with moral dilemma is the question that when people hear, especially about the programs that are running and the work we're doing, the first question they say, oh, so DLC is a not-for-profit. And we say, no, we're not. We are very much for profit because sometimes you need to make money to create an impact to do good. So, like you said, that sometimes it's like, how do you work when you don't have that income? How do you give that time? Because if you're not going to be able to pay your next mortgage, what are you doing out there helping people with high costs of living? It's not going to balance out. So somewhere drawing the line and finding areas and possibilities. So like Carolina, put forth that sometimes you don't come across those, but there are enough people that will use you for your specialization. And I guess we just have to go out there, find out, reach more, research more, and, probably just get more involved in conversations with people. It's not things that people discuss. When you're at a networking event, the first thing you talk about is your business, what you do, where you're from, where you've studied, conversations about, so, what social impact initiative are you passionate about is something that's lost or almost never on the the list. So if that happens and those conversations begin, I think people will get exposed to a lot more. And really my purpose today for doing this is because I have a lot of friends that have their heart in a good place and the desire to do something. They just never go around to doing it. You've got the best strategy brains. You've got the best finance brains. You've got people that do so well on social media for their own companies and brands. And sometimes I tell my own sister that, and I'm just like, focus on organizations that could use that help from you. Somebody's doing a good job. They just don't have access to some people like you that are thinking minds. Give back to that. So I guess just really doing it and sharing with people that, yes, you can have full-time demanding jobs, very good social life, manage to have time for hobbies, and still give back. So, if that inspires someone in some way or the other to get affiliated, I think I've, at least for today, achieved my milestone. But
I'd just like to add to that, I also think that in my job, I have the opportunity to meet a lot of, entrepreneurs and founders of businesses, and they have, it's a very common problem that entrepreneurs have. But what I'm learning now is that there are actually so many collaborations you can do with businesses and actually embed sustainable impact or social impact within your actual business model now. And that is something that if you actually look out and seek opportunities, there are people who can help you do that. And I think that's really exciting, and that's a space that's really growing.
Yeah, I would 100% agree to that. I don't think social impact and for-profit are a binary anymore. It is a spectrum. And you can lie on that spectrum. Yeah, we're living in a world where Patagonia founder donated his entire company to the climate crisis, right? So there is a lot that can be done in your own mission. I work for an organization that empowers women, so you can make profit and assist business, and with a lot of sustainability, etc., coming in. I don't necessarily see it as this cognitive dilemma on your head that you have to constantly choose between, especially in the world of opportunities that we now live in and how the direction is going.
Yeah, I totally agree. And if you want to have the brightest people working on social impact problems, you need to be able to incentivize them to do that work outside of the fact that they're giving. Because cost of living crisis, everyone has to live as well.
Yeah.
And I would say also add, not to undermine then afterwards, that when you pull people together for a good cause, somehow I feel it has, I've only had a few experiences, but it has the power to really connect in a much stronger manner. And I think that power then, it's something that can end up becoming from friends a network, which then you can also leverage sort of for your business. But yeah, I think it's not to be undermined.
All right, thank you.